model jet engine is a scaled-down version of the real thing. It's essentially the same technology that lifts enormous aircraft off the ground and propels them through the sky. These engines were first attached to models in the 1980s, and they created an immediate sensation on the runway. For some model aircraft enthusiasts, tiny turbines are now the only way to fly. They look and sound like a real turbojet, and this touch of authenticity can really let the imagination take off. These miniature jets start with the base plate. All the other turbine parts will be attached to this. First, automated tools transform a piece of aluminium into an aerodynamic shape. The blades cut into the perimeter will act as aerofoils, contributing to lift and thrust. It takes just minutes to create this precision part from a metal disc the size of a hockey puck. Next, a worker laser welds the seams of a steel canister, creating what looks like a large can full of holes. This is the jet engine's combustion chamber, where a mix of fuel and air will be ignited to drive the turbine. He now inserts a hollow cylinder into the base plate and then presses in a fuel distribution ring. With the parts correctly aligned, he places the assembly in a metal stand. He dips screws in a thread-locking compound and drives them into threaded slots in the base plate. This secures and cements the base plate assembly. Next, he holds the base plate unit above the combustion chamber while he inserts the tiny fuel delivery tubes. He completes the job by flipping the chamber around to slide the tubes further inside. The stator vane, pressed onto the other end of the chamber, will redirect the flow of gases to the turbine wheel. And now the glow plug, so called because it glows to ignite the fuel inside. He pops it into a threaded slot on the side of the combustion chamber, which is now encased in an outer shell. Next, he installs the turbine and shaft, sliding the shaft into the center cylinder. He supports the shaft on both ends with thrust bearings and washers, pressing the parts into place. Next is the compressor wheel, which pressurizes air on its way into the chamber. Once installed, the compressor wheel spins at very high speed while being analyzed by a computer. The slightest vibration signifies an imbalance. They drill away tiny bits of metal to lighten any areas of imbalance. These exact spots are pinpointed by the computer. They give the compressor wheel another spin. Again, the computer detects a small imbalance and more material must be removed. This process is repeated several times until the compressor wheel is perfectly balanced and the computer gives it the green light. After that, they ensure the turbine wheel on the other end of the shaft is also balanced. This mini jet engine is now ready for the starter motor. It's installed on the shaft protruding from the compressor and anchors in place with screws. Once in place, it will spin the shaft until enough compressed air is produced to ignite the fuel. This plastic tubing will deliver the fuel to the engine and oil for lubrication. He adds a little of the oil for the initial lubrication of the bearings. Next, he heats one end with a lighter. This makes the plastic supple so it easily fits onto the connector. He wires the starter to a battery and tests the motor. It works, so he snaps an aluminium cover onto the assembly. This model jet engine is ready for the final test. They lock it down in a box, pump fuel into it, and bring it up to full throttle. Using computerized equipment, the technician monitors the output and confirms the engine is producing an adequate amount of thrust. That means it's ready to leave the factory and take flight. It only takes about 6 hours to make a model jet engine, but after that, the sky is the limit.